Yo, how's it going? I'm back in the video, and today I'm going to be doing a 2022 NBA mock draft. Now, this is a very early mock draft, don't get me wrong, and a lot of my player assessments will most likely change. So if I have one of your favorite players that you do like at a little bit lower of a ranking, that ranking could very much change at any point due to how early it is still in the college season and how early it is in the really analyzing of the players. Now, if you are not new to this channel, you've been around for a little bit, you would know that I have made a few of these videos in the past, and if you do recall, I like to think that I was fairly accurate with my player assessment. Now, yes, I was still wrong about a few of them, but I was right about the vast majority. So obviously, this is not going to be a perfect mock draft, nor is going to be the mock draft when it probably does come to draft day. And then the order as well of this mock draft is going to be coming from Tankathon, which is the current draft order if there was no lottery and if the draft started today. But now that I got all that out of the way, let's get right into this video. So with the #1 overall pick, we would have the Detroit Pistons going with Paolo Bannchero. I probably butchered his name. He has a very weird name, a very weird spelt name, but despite how weird his name may be to pronounce, he is a very talented player, and in my opinion, by far the best player in this draft class. He's a 6'10 forward out of Duke who also has a 6'10 wingspan and is 250 pounds, so he has an absolute great build for a forward, and he's also just a full package when it comes to a player. He's an extremely smart defender, has a very high basketball IQ, but he's also a very good scorer. He can score from every single level on the court. If it's around the paint, he's a very good finisher around there. He can shoot the mid-range, he has a good fadeaway game, and he can even shoot the three while also having a solid handle with the ball. And like I said, he also has a very high basketball IQ, and he is also a very good athlete, which helps on the defensive end as well. So I think for sure Paolo would be a great pick with the #1 overall pick, and in my opinion, like I said earlier, is the best player in this draft class and is definitely the most NBA ready star level player that is in this class. And I think he would fit very good alongside Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons, and he could really just add to that young core and hopefully make that team even closer to being competitive than they already are, and already brighten the future of a very young team already. And now for the #2 overall pick, we have the Orlando Magic selecting Jabari Smith. Now, Jabari Smith is a player that going into the season, I'm not going to even lie, I was not a believer in him, but from what he has done so far in this college tenure that he's had with Auburn, it has forced my hand, and I have him moving up all the way to the 2nd spot on my player ranking list, and that's why he's going #2 overall to the Orlando Magic. And also, he would just fit very well because the Magic are not selecting a guard. They have so many young guards on that team. If they pick a young guard, the Orlando Magic organization may riot, at least their fan base would. They have no need for a guard. And then they just got Wendell Carter Jr. in a trade, and I don't think they're going to draft a center, so I think forward is their biggest need, and Jabari Smith would be able to fit that role very good. He's a very patient and very smart player, and he can score at all 3 levels just like Paolo. The only thing he does not have that Paolo does is that he doesn't have elite athleticism and elite explosiveness, which is a big reason why I was kind of hesitant to put him in the top 3 in this draft. But from what I've seen, from his super high IQ, from his very good efficient shooting, and just his overall knowledge of the game and scoring the ball, I've had to move him all the way up here, and I think he would be a great fit for the Orlando Magic at the 2nd overall spot. And due to that high IQ, he would probably be able to be a very nice leader for this very young Orlando Magic team, and once again could hopefully make them a better team than they are now and kind of push that timeline a little bit forward to when they can start contending for a playoff spot. And now with the #3 overall pick, we have the Houston Rockets selecting Chet Holmgren. Now, Holmgren is a very unique player in the fact that he is a 7-foot big man who can dribble the ball and shoot a little bit, but he also has a 7'6 wingspan, so he's really just a freak of nature how he's built, and he also obviously can rebound and shot block at an elite level. But the reason he is such a unique talent is that although he still needs to work on a lot of parts in his game, and he needs to vastly improve them very fast, like his strength isn't there, his rebounding needs to get a little bit better, especially for being a 7-footer with a 7'6 wingspan. His rebounding isn't completely there as you'd want it. His His strength's not there, his scoring isn't all the way there, and his handle is not great either, but he has shown some three-point shooting potential, and he's also shown some ball handling potential. So with this build and with this great unique skill set that he has the potential to have, he could legitimately have the highest ceiling in this draft class, and if he reaches his potential, he might be the best player and one of the more unguardable type players in this draft class, and maybe even in the NBA, and has a chance to be a Kristaps Porzingis type player. Very lengthy, very tall, can handle the ball, can guard people on the perimeter, can lock down the paint, can grab rebounds, can block shots, can shoot threes, can pretty much do anything you want an NBA player to do. So if he does reach his full potential, he's going to be a very dangerous player and one of the hardest mismatches to deal with in the entire NBA going into the future. But the reason I have him going at 3, which is a little bit lower than what some mock drafts would have him going, is because, like I said, although he has an extremely high ceiling, his floor is kind of low, and he will be coming in the NBA kind of raw, needing to still develop it, like I said, a ton of strength. He needs to get more rebounding in there, he needs to get better shot blocking, and that will all come with strength as well, but then he also needs to be able to get a little bit better of a ball handle, he needs to get a little bit more agile, his scoring needs a little bit of polishing as well, and his three-point shot is not completely there. But if he can develop all that in a few years, he will be a very, very dangerous player. And if you put him alongside Jalen Green, who's a great player, if you put him with Christian Wood, Jalen Green, Chet Holmgren, now you're starting to build a real foundation there in Houston to really go forward in the future and try to build something off of that. And I think Chet would be a very, very nice piece to add to this Houston Rockets team. And now with the 4th overall pick, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting Kendall Brown. Now, Kendall Brown at the 4th overall pick is probably a little bit higher than a lot of mock drafts are going to have him have, but me personally, I am absolutely in love with Kendall Brown and his ceiling as an NBA player. Kendall Brown is probably the best athlete in this entire class, and hands down, he is just a complete freak athlete, and you can see that anytime you see him on the floor. He's an elite transition player with elite finishing ability as well, not just dunking the ball, but he's just very good finesse around the rim, and he's also a very, very smart shot taker, as he just really doesn't take any dumb shots, which leads him to shooting 70% from the field goal percentage on the season so far. He's a very efficient player, and not even only is his offense very impressive with how efficient he is also an elite defender. He could legitimately be the best defender in this class as well. So when you have the best athlete with the best defender with an extremely smart offensive player, that is a very, very solid player. And then you put in the fact that he's 6'6", 205 pounds, he is a very, very nice build, and he just has all the tools necessary to be a star in this league. Athleticism, defense, two-way potential, 3-level scoring potential, and although his three-point shot is not where you would want it to be from a wing, he has shown that if you leave him open, he will hit the shot. He is not scared to shoot the 3, he just knows it is a more efficient shot to go in the paint where he's a better finisher. So if he can ever develop a pull-up shot or just a catch-and-shoot 3, he is going to be even more dangerous than he already is, and coming into the NBA, although he might not be a star day one, he will always have that star potential, and I think he is going to be a very nice player for any team who picks him up, and is going to be an absolute huge piece to any team and any rotation that he is on going into next season. And also, I think he would fit very well with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey, as Josh Giddey is a very good passer. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is also a very solid passer. So if you give a lob threat like Kendall Brown to them guys, and then even a transition threat where they're going to be able to hit him in transition with great passes right on the money, it is going to be very, very fun to watch that team develop, and they could become a very, very scary team very, very soon if they are able to hit on a few draft picks, and if Josh Giddey and Shai keep developing how I think they will. And for the 5th overall pick, we have the New Orleans Pelicans selecting Jaden Ivey. Now, Jaden Ivey is a guard out of Purdue who, although he did have a rough start to this season, has really been coming on as of late, as he is looking like a very, very solid point guard and probably the best guard, and in my opinion, he is the best guard in this draft class. He has very good athleticism, he has a very good scoring ceiling, and he can also be an elite defender. He has tons of two-way potential. Now, yes, he does need to work on his playmaking ability for his teammates, which is kind of essential coming from a point guard, but he has shown the potential to have that playmaking ability. And then also with his three-point shooting and field goal percentage going up a lot from his freshman year, he has shown improvement in that biggest weakness, which was his efficiency. And with him improving so much in his efficiency, shows me that he has put in the work during the offseason and is a player that is willing to work and willing to develop. And as a scorer that he already is, I think he could be a very nice player and could be the Pelicans point guard for the future. And I know the Pelicans already have players like Kira Lewis, Devontae Graham, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but Jaden Ivey is just one of those talents that could potentially be a superstar and is kind of like a Ja Morant type player. Now, although I don't think he's as good as Ja Morant, especially not day one, I do think he has that type of potential going into the draft, and I don't know if he will reach it, but I think he for sure would be put in a very good situation with the Pelicans and will probably be their starting point guard from day one. So I definitely think Jaden Ivey here would be a great pick for the New Orleans Pelicans. And for the 6th overall pick, we have the Portland Trail Blazers selecting Benedict Mcthurin. Now, Benedict may be the best player in this draft class one day, and is personally my favorite player in this draft class. He is an elite, and I mean elite, offensive player in every asset of the game. In half court, he's going to be able to score. In the transition, he's going to be able to score. He's a sneaky good athlete, and he's also just an extremely smart player when it comes to the offensive end, and he is probably one of the best at reading a defense in this draft class. If you close out on him too hard, he is going to drive past you. If you double team him, he's going to pass the ball, and if you don't close out hard enough, he is going to shoot the ball, and he will most likely hit that, as he has an elite jump shot in every place. He can shoot from half court, short range, inside the paint, floater, three-point shot, everything. Like, he is a elite offensive player, and he has shown that night in and night out. And one of my biggest things is you have to be consistent for you to be, in my opinion, a very good NBA player, and he has been exactly that. He's been one of the most consistent elite offensive players in this entire draft class, if not the most consistent. So I'm absolutely in love with him. He's a sneaky good athlete, and he's also a fairly solid defender. So I think for sure he could maybe be the steal of the draft and might even make it to the top 5, maybe even top 3 by the time the draft actually does come around. And now moving to the 7th overall pick, we have the Indiana Pacers selecting Jaden Hardy. Now, although I'm not as high Jaden Hardy as a lot of people are, he does have a lot of aspects of his game he needs to work on, especially his efficiency, and also his playmaking is not there at all right now, but he does have all the tools in the bag of being one of the best guards in this class. He is an extreme athlete who could be good on both ways. If his efficiency gets up, he could be an elite scorer, but there's a lot of could-bes with him, and with how many questions and how much he needs to develop and work, I think he would not be the number 1 point guard or number 1 guard in this class, but I think he is easily the 2nd best guard, or at least the 2nd best guard with the 2nd highest ceiling in this class. And I think Jaden Ivey, although having so many questions with him, would be a good pick for the Indiana Pacers, as that is one of their biggest glaring holes on this roster. Now, yes, Malcolm Brogdon is a very good point guard, don't get me wrong, but their shooting guard situation isn't fully where you'd want it to be, and maybe Jaden Ivey, if he can hit on the potential and develop as you would want him to, he could be the guy for the Indiana Pacers going into the future at that shooting guard position. And now for the 8th overall pick, we have the San Antonio Spurs selecting Jalen Duren. Now, Jalen Duren, although I am not extremely high on him at all, he's pretty much going to be what he is right now for the rest of his career. He's kind of like what Dwight Howard is. He's just a very strong freak athlete who's going to be a very good rim protector, a solid rebounder, just extremely strong freak athlete who's going to do what he does. He's not going to really ever be anything too special. Now, yes, like Dwight Howard was very good in his prime. I'm not saying Jalen Duren is Dwight Howard's prime. I'm just saying Jalen Duren is pretty much going to be a Dwight Howard type player. Pretty much with him, you get what you see, and that is exactly what you see. A strong guy who's going to rebound and shot block and maybe get you around 10 points a game due to his strength around the rim and his putback potential. But the reason I have the Spurs selecting him here is because he would be an upgrade over Jakob Poeltl, and I do think that maybe Greg Popovich's system could benefit him and could help him develop a little bit faster than he would anywhere else. And he also has a 7'5" wingspan, so his build is just very good. He's a kind of freaky build, 6'11", 7'5" wingspan, very lengthy, very strong, and I just think he would fit very well with the Spurs, and he won't be one of those guys that's going to take the ball out of someone like Devin Vassell's hand, Keldon Johnson, different players like that. So I do think for sure he could be a very nice fit for the Spurs team and might be an upgrade at their center position, which is probably their weakest position right now. Now for the 9th overall pick, we have the Sacramento Kings selecting Keegan Murray. The Kings were kind of the more interesting team to look at because I don't think they're going guard at all. They have 4 nice guards on the team, and I'm sure Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox will probably be getting moved on from or traded from this roster by the next time we will be doing this next season. I'm sure it'll probably be the Davion Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton backcourt going into next season, with Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox getting traded somewhere. But as of right now, they have 4 guards on the team, so I don't think they're going guard. They'll probably blow it up once they trade Fox and Hield, so I'm assuming Harrison Barnes would also be gone. So I think getting someone like Keegan Murray, who is a very, very good offensive player, who I'm pretty high on the offensive end, and I think he's just going to be one of the better offensive players in this draft. He can score from everywhere. He has a very nice shot. He's a solid defender. He's a very nice two-way type player, and I think he could be a great wing to replace Harrison Barnes if they do blow it all up and go extremely young. And I think developing your 3 players that you're going to be building around for the future, or right now, is going to be huge for them to build chemistry. So I think a Davion Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton, Keegan Murray front court or back court for this team, or at least core for this Kings going forward, could be a very nice one going into the future, and might even be like 3 or 4 years down the line, one of the more dangerous big threes in the league that they do have to offer. And it'd be very interesting to see how they would pair up together going forward, and I think it would be a much needed excitement for a Kings organization who honestly right now is kind of stuck in purgatory, where they're in the middle of being good and being bad as well. So I think it's time to blow it up, go young, and see what you got in your young guys. Add another young piece like Keegan Murray, and you could be building something very special going into the future. Now for the number 10 overall pick, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting Patrick Baldwin Jr. Now Patrick Baldwin Jr., although I'm not too high on him, I really do like him with the Minnesota Timberwolves, because right now the Timberwolves already have 3 players in Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns, and D'Angelo Russell, who all like to have the ball in their hand and who all like to have to score the ball a lot. Well, with Patrick Baldwin Jr., getting a guy who doesn't need the ball in his hand to really take over a game, he's more of a catch and shoot type guy offensively, and is also a smart player defensively. So I think with the Wolves already having pretty much 3 primary ball handlers, I think someone like Patrick Baldwin, who's a catch and shoot guy to spread the floor, would be a very beneficial piece to this Minnesota Timberwolves team, and I think could be a very, very nice piece for them. So like I said, although I'm not too high on him due to his lack of athleticism, due to his lack of being able to get away from players that are really athletic that guard him, and due to him really not excelling too much with not that great of competition he's playing against, being that he is playing in Milwaukee, I just personally think that he would be a very nice player, as he wouldn't have to be the number 1 guy for this team at all, and he would be more of a catch and shoot guy, which is where he is pretty much the most comfortable at. And now with the 11th overall pick, we have the Atlanta Hawks selecting J.D. Davison. Now J.D. Davison is a very athletic, very intriguing guard out of Alabama, who although does need a little bit of work on a couple different areas of his game, he does have a very, very high ceiling due to his elite athleticism and his shot creating potential. So I think for sure he could start off as pretty much an elite backup guard for the Atlanta Hawks, which is kind of their biggest need, and I think for sure J.D. Davison coming off the bench could benefit the Atlanta Hawks a lot, and maybe he could even develop into a backcourt partner with Trae Young a few years down the line. But as of right now, J.D. Davison's kind of more of a project type player with an extremely high ceiling, and that's why you take the risk on him with the 11th overall pick. Now with the 12th overall pick, we have the New York Knicks selecting Trevor Kills and becoming the 2nd straight point guard to come off the board. Now Trevor Kills, although he would be joining a backcourt that has Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker in it, and it looks kind of stacked, honestly neither one of them have lived up to the expectations of the New York Knicks. So assuming the Knicks might even move on from one of those 2 players, Trevor Kills could legitimately be the starter or backup point guard or shooting guard going into the future with the Knicks, as Kills is one of those players with an extremely high motor who is a kind of Patrick Beverley type player. Now obviously he is not Patrick Beverley. He's not trying to fight everyone every play. He's not trying to get in your face every 2 seconds, but he is one of those players that has very high motor and plays with tons and tons of heart and high energy, and could just be a great role player for any team, and he would fit the New York Knicks atmosphere very, very well. And I think New York Knicks would absolutely love Trevor Kills due to how hard he plays, and I think he could provide a very nice backup point guard role starting with the New York Knicks in the very near future. And now the 13th overall pick, we have another point guard coming off the board in Ty Washington to the Toronto Toronto Raptors. Now, last year, the Raptors got their guy in Scottie Barnes, and they did that by passing over Jalen Suggs, who the vast majority of people, including me, assumed they would pick due to Kyle Lowry recently leaving the team at that point. But they got Scottie Barnes, and Scottie Barnes has really provided that Draymond Green type role. Now, Scottie Barnes, what I mean by Draymond Green type role, does pretty much all the dirty stuff you want. He'll get you about 15 points a game, but he can also rebound. He's a very athletic, plays very good defense, plays at an extremely high pace and high motor pretty much at all times, and is just one of those players that you love to have on your team. So I'm pretty sure they got their their front court solidified for the very, very long future with Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes pretty much going to hold that down for the next while. And then they also have OG Anunoby, who is a very, very solid small forward to have in your starting lineup. So the only thing that they really struggle with is that shooting guard with Gary Trent Jr., and I think someone like Ty Washington could fit perfectly in at the point guard position, moving Fred VanVleet back to shooting guard, and I think the team would be much better for it, because Ty Washington is kind of like one of the better, more fitted guards for this Toronto Raptors team. He's a pass-first guy who has a defensive mindset, exactly like how Kyle Lowry was. Now, am I saying he's going to be as good as Kyle Lowry? No, but I do think he could kind of fulfill the role that Lowry did provide for them 2 years ago, and I think that would benefit this team a lot, and he could maybe even develop with Scottie Barnes, and maybe they could be building another playoff team very, very near going into the future, and I think this would be a great pick for them at the 13th overall. And now for the final pick of this mock draft, we have the Boston Celtics selecting Michael Foster with the 14th overall pick. Now, Foster is pretty much a less offensively talented Julius Randle, and what I mean by that is he is an extremely strong player. He's a fearless rim protector and rebounder, and he is going to struggle to score on the offensive side of the ball in the NBA due to his pretty much one-sided type offense. But like I said, he's a very good rebounder, and he's a fearless rim protector and will jump with anyone, and he will be a solid player in the league, but I don't think he will ever be a good offensive player due to how one-dimensional his game is, and I do think he might struggle against other strong big men in the league. But I do think with the 14th overall pick, he would be getting a very solid player and might even be a very nice rotational guy for the Boston Celtics day one, depending how they would want to use him. But unfortunately, guys, that's my first video, so comment below. Do you agree with me, or do you disagree with me? Do you think a player should go somewhere else? On your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like the point, hit the like button and subscribe button. It means the absolute world to me. And I hope you have a blessed day. Have a blessed day. So you have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.